Chapter 4: Linguistics of Language and Linguistics of Speaking. In setting up the science of language within the overall study of speech, I have also outlined the whole of linguistics. All other elements of speech, those that constitute speaking, freely subordinate themselves to the first science, and it is by virtue of this subordination that the parts of linguistics find their natural place. Consider, for example, the production of sounds necessary for speaking. The vocal organs are as external to language as are the electrical devices used in transmitting the Morse code to the code itself. And phonation, i.e., the execution of sound images, in no way affects the system itself. Language is comparable to a symphony in that what a symphony actually is stands completely apart from how it is performed. The mistakes that musicians make in playing the symphony do not compromise this fact. An argument against separating phonation from language might be phonetic changes, the alterations of the sounds which occur in speaking and which exert such a profound influence on the future of language itself. Do we really have the right to pretend that language exists independently of phonetic changes? Yes, for they affect only the material substance of words. If they attack language as a system of signs, it is only indirectly through subsequent changes of interpretation. There is nothing phonetic in the phenomenon. Determining the causes of phonetic changes may be of interest, and the study of sounds will be helpful on this point. But none of this is essential. In the science of language, all we need to do is to observe the transformations of sounds and to calculate their effects. What I have said about phonation applies to all other parts of speaking. The activity of the speaker should be studied in a number of disciplines which have no place in linguistics except through their relation to language. The study of speech is then twofold. Its basic part, having as its object language, which is purely social and independent of the individual, is exclusively psychological. Its secondary part, which has its object the individual side of speech, i.e., speaking, including phonation, is psychophysical. Doubtless, the two objects are closely connected, each depending on the other. Language is necessary if speaking is to be intelligible and produce all its effects. But speaking is necessary for the establishment of language, and historically its actuality always comes first. How would a speaker take it upon himself to associate an idea with a word image if he had not first come across the association in an act of speaking? Moreover, we learn our mother language by listening to others. Only after countless experiences is it deposited in our brain. Finally, speaking is what causes language to evolve. Impressions gathered from listening to others modify our linguistic habits. Language and speaking are then interdependent. The former is both the instrument and the product of the latter, but their interdependence does not prevent there being two absolutely distinct things. Language exists in the form of a sum of impressions deposited in the brain of each member of a community, almost like a dictionary, of which identical copies have been distributed to each individual. Language exists in each individual, yet is common to all. Nor is it affected by the will of the depositaries. Its mode of existence is expressed by the formula 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 equals collective pattern. What part does speaking play in the same community? It is the sum of what people say and includes A. individual combinations that depend on the will of speakers, and b. equally willful phonational acts that are necessary for the execution of these combinations. Speaking is thus not a collective instrument. Its manifestations are individual and momentary. In speaking, there is only the sum of particular acts, as in the formula 1 plus 1 prime plus 1 double prime plus 1 triple prime, and so on. For all the foregoing reasons, to consider language and speaking from the same viewpoint would be fanciful. Taken as a whole, speech cannot be studied, for it is not homogeneous, but the distinction and subordination proposed here clarify the whole issue. Such is the first bifurcation that we find in trying to formulate the theory of speech. We must choose between two routes that cannot be followed simultaneously. They must be followed separately. One might, if really necessary, apply the term linguistics to each of the two disciplines and speak of linguistics of speaking. But that science must not be confused with linguistics proper, whose sole object is language. I shall deal only with linguistics of language, and if I subsequently use material belonging to speaking to illustrate a point, I shall try never to erase the boundaries that separate the two domains.